Welcome. This tutorial will take you through the process of setting up your first full zone using the Zone Beacon application. This video assumes you've already set up and configured your control device as well as your wireless router. If you have not done so yet, please either read the setup information found on the Zone Beacon website or view the video tutorial on how to set up and configure your control device and wireless router. Open Zone Beacon. The screen that you are brought to is the user mode screen showing all of your defined zones. The user mode is indicated by the black navigation bar at the top of the screen and the bottom black bar. Please click on the Edit button at the top right of the zone's user mode screen. Once clicked, the navigation bar at the top and the bottom bar at the bottom of the screen should both turn to blue color. In this application, blue signifies the edit mode and black signifies the user or a regular mode of operation. Tap the Add button at the bottom of the screen. Enter in the name of the zone in the name field. Remember, a zone is like an area or a grouping of areas in your home. I will be creating the main floor zone in this tutorial. The table found below in the name field contains a list of relationships for this item. Because we have not created any other items, we will not see anything listed here. I will come back to this later in the tutorial. Now you have entered in the name into the name field. Tap the Save button to save and close the screen. You should now see your newly created item in the list of zones. In Zone Beacon, there are three important gestures used to access functionality. Tapping an item will drill down into that item and reveal its subcomponents. Long pressing on an item will bring up the edit screen for that item, or in a user mode of operation, a long press will bring up the dimming screen. Swiping the item is the last gesture, and it's used to delete that item. Tap your newly created zone to drill down and reveal its list of buttons. You'll notice that this list is empty because we have not yet created a button for this zone. Tap the Add button at the bottom. Enter in the name of the button that you wish to have for this zone. A button can be a single controlled load, scene, or switch, or even a group of loads, scenes, or switches. For this example, I will create a button that will act as a virtual scene called Good Morning. Notice on the left side of the table, you can see the relationship to the main floor. This alerts you that the new button that you are creating will be created in the main floor zone. Save this button and close the screen. As before, you will see your newly created button in the list of buttons. Tap your newly created button to drill down and reveal its list of command groups. This list is once again empty, and we must create a new command group. I will be creating 3 command groups for this button, and will explain why later. I'll be creating the kitchen, I'll create one for the great room, and lastly I'll create one for the bathroom. Command groups become very useful when you would like to define a set of loads or scenes to be controlled that are commonly used in other zones or buttons. For example, the great room is not just one load, it's actually comprised of 2 loads. The great room itself may be used in actually 3 different buttons, one named Great Room, which is only the great room, one named Good Morning, which we are creating now, and one named All Main Floor, which contains all of the main floor loads. By creating this command group named Great Room, you can then reuse this command group in other buttons and not have to load all of the loads that make up the Great Room in order to control the Great Room itself. Let's continue by drilling down into a command group. As mentioned before, the Great Room is actually made up of 2 commands that control the 2 loads in the Great Room. Tap on the Add button at the bottom to bring up a menu. This menu lets users choose the type of device that ZoneBeacon will associate the command with. For example, we are using the CentraLite Elegance system, thus creating commands associated with the CentraLite Elegance MCP. This screen lets me define the name of the command, the targeted CentraLite Elegance MCP board, the command number, and lastly, what the command is. The left side of my great room is controlled by a load numbered 001 on a single MCP. Tap Save to close this item. Tap the newly created command to drill down into the last part of the puzzle, the settings for the gateway. Tap the Add button at the bottom. Here you will enter in the information associated with the gateway that you have connected to your controlled device. In this case, the CentraLite Elegance MCP. I define my gateway to use port 11,000 and IP address 192.168.1.150 using the TCP protocol. For those that will be using ZoneBeacon to control your CentraLite Elegance MCP, you should be using the TCP protocol. It allows the MCP to communicate to ZoneBeacon and show the status of your home. Tap the Save button and close the screen. Tap the Back button and back up to your list of commands for the Great Room. Now tap the Add button and add the right side load command. Enter in the information associated with that command. Now this is where you start to see the speed up process take effect. Now that you have defined a gateway, you can select your recently defined gateway as your relationship for the command's gateway and not have to re-enter in this information. So I'll select the heavy duty gateway, and then tap Save and close the screen. Now that I am done with the Great Room, tap the Back button and back up to your list of command groups for the Good Morning button. Tap on Kitchen to drill down into the kitchen's list of commands. Add the commands associated with the kitchen and continue to reuse the already created gateway. Now that I am done with the kitchen, go back and repeat this same process for the bathroom. Once you have finished, you can back all the way out to the main user's mode screen and see the newly zone that you have created. Click on your zone to see the Good Morning button for this zone. You now have created your first zone from start to finish. Remember to use the relationship tables in the edit screens to save time when creating items that reuse existing items. If you did not understand or did not know what your load or scene numbers were for your home, then you most likely do not have access to this information and should pay attention to the following instructions. To determine which load numbers in your CentraLite MCP correspond to lights or appliances in your home, you can tap on the Find Loads icon. It is at the bottom of the screen of the Zones Edit Mode screen and looks like a magnifying glass with a house. Tapping this will bring up the Find Load screen. To begin using this feature, you must be near a light switch in your home that is controlled by the CentraLite MCP. It must have at least one gateway already defined. If you do not have one, create one by rewatching this video and using dummy data for the command, and use one of the commands that I show in this video, which you can then later simply delete the command. Values entered in the gateway should be the values used by your gateway, or else this feature will not work. Tap the drop-down for the gateway and choose your gateway. Then tap the device and choose your device. Once done, press Run Test and follow the on-screen instructions. Once the test is completed, a list of all loads that have changed since the test was administered are shown. That is, all loads that have changed due to your light switch being thrown are now displayed in this table. You can now write down these load numbers and use them to identify the lights that were used on your light switch. All the loads that are already defined in Zone Beacon that correspond to a load that was switched on or off during the test will be displayed as the name that's already in your Zone Beacon database. Lastly, thank you for choosing Zone Beacon.